Oh, I gotta get my video and audio turned off on the other screen. All right, you ready? Let's go. Welcome into On the Beat Live, Tuesday's premier sports podcast on InsideCarolina.com. Talked about Johnny T-shirt, JohnnyT-shirt.com. All right, boys, it's Tuesday. It's rivalry week. I guess it's a rivalry week. Seems like it. Feels like it. Adam, did you get that sense talking to the players today that this is, in fact, a rivalry once again?
Absolutely yes, Tommy. Yes.
Do tell.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't know how Ross felt about it, but I always think with Carolina, obviously NC State is Carolina's biggest rival in football, and I always feel like Duke is Carolina's biggest rival in basketball. Although the Wolfpack gets super fired up to play Carolina over there in Raleigh, but it was enjoyable. We always talked to a bunch of different players on Tuesday, and talking to Tony Grimes, talking to Noah Taylor, who has yet to play in a game for Carolina against Duke, although he's played a lot for UVA against Duke. Talking to Josh Downs, they were quoting Mac today saying, "Hey, we're not supposed to lose to Duke. We don't lose to Duke. The victory bell is supposed to stay here." So yeah, I really got that sense. I don't know about you, Ross. I felt like it's enjoyable chats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it was when y'all were in school there, Tommy and Adam, but like UNC always beat Duke. Like it was never a question. Duke used to suck. And under Cutcliffe, they've gotten better where it's more of a game. Obviously Cutcliffe's gone now. So it's interesting now with Mike Elko hasn't playing pretty well, but like Adam said, like I treat NC State as the big rivalry game. This does seem like the secondary rivalry game, but the victory bell kind of adds a cool little thing. They said that Kevin Donnelly's been ringing it throughout practices and throughout the week, which is kind of cool. Josh Downs said he was in the facility late last night and he was ringing it just to kind of see what it felt like. So it is a cool little part of the rivalry, that victory bell thing, because they go crazy when they win it, especially if the team that lost the last year goes over and gets it. That's when it gets real wild. So I mean, obviously the goal is to keep it on UNC's side for UNC, but I think it's just an opportunity for UNC to notch another win, build that Coastal lead, 3-0 in the Coastal, 6-1, become bowl eligible, just 7 games in season. So that's how I think most kind of fans or not fans, but players are kind of just keep this thing rolling, keep stacking these wins.
I agree with that part of it. I was at Carolina at 41-0. I was in the stadium when Spurrier did his little stunt. And after 41-0, I think Chucky Burnett, Burlington Cummings,
Chucky Burnett
threw like 6 interceptions in that game, and that was it was the Burnett brothers. You had Burnett with no E and Burnett with 1 T or some mess like that. But Chucky did not have a good day. Spurrier parks his team under there. I remember that. I was there. I stood there and watched it. So that dates myself. But you're right, Ross. For the most part, Carolina won these games, and they won them for a long time. But they were always pretty close ball games. I mean, 41-40. I think Octavius Barnes had to catch a pass from Mike Thomas and run down the sidelines.
Duke, right? Yeah.
At Duke. We'll have Dan Orner on the Inside Carolina Live show this weekend. I mean, everybody knows that game. He busted the helmet, the inflatable helmet out there, and created a stir. That was the first mea culpa by Carolina. If y'all remember the locker room deal wasn't too terribly long ago when Bubba had to come out off some cash for replacing the locker room. But as far as to Ross's point, Adam, and let's get in here on this first, and then we'll talk about Duke a little bit more. Carolina can get bowl eligible after last season's 6 wins, and it was ugly 6 wins for the most part. They can be bowl eligible if they handle business on October the mid-October, October the 15th. They can be bowl eligible. That's pretty impressive for a team coming off a season like they did last year.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's something Ross, I know Ross mentioned it because it's something he and I have been talking about, since we came back from Miami, like UNC, if you beat Duke, you're not only 3-0 in the ACC, you've won 3 games against the Coastal, like you're already 3 games up in the division. And yeah, to what you're saying, Tommy, I mean, I think what I'm going to try to write somewhere in Countdown to Kickoff is that I felt like last season, you open the season, UNC at Virginia Tech, and you lose to start the season. You're 0-1 in the league. I felt like they were always trying to climb out of a hole in the league. They got to 1-1 after they beat Virginia. They go lose at Georgia Tech. You're 1-2. I think the FSU loss in Chapel Hill dropped them to 2-3 in the league, if I'm not mistaken. It's just always like they never were in a position like they are now to where they can, sort of have a lead and be looking down at everyone else in the division.
You're right about that, and my printer's over here going off. So if anybody hears that, I'm sorry. My son's printing his Carolina application.
Wow, the timing.
So, yeah, perfect timing. Right now, when I'm trying to do a radio show, but I can't get mad about that. It's due on the 15th, so he's got to get it done, and he wants us to look at it. But anyway, Ross, Mac talked about beating Duke and all. How do you think Mac feels? You've covered Mac for a while here. How do you think Mac feels about these in-state games? He always preaches that in-state championship, right? Is he doing that again this year?
I don't think we've heard him mention that.
That's interesting.
But it may be something he mentions on Wednesday. Wednesday's kind of when the week turns to the next game, to the Duke game. So, but yeah, I mean, they got what? They already beat App State. They got Duke. They got Wake. They got NC State. So they have a chance to win the state if they win all those games. But he has not brought that up yet. But this is a big game. I mean, this is a coastal game. This is a chance to beat your rival, your secondary rival in football. And I think in terms of just broader things, this is a game you should win. If you're trying to compete with Clemson and Florida State, and Tennessee and South Carolina and all those big kind of regional schools, you don't lose to Duke. Like, that's why losing Georgia Tech last year was so bad. That's why losing to App State in 2019 was so bad. If Mac Brown wants to get his program where he wants to get it, you can't be losing to Duke. You shouldn't be losing to Wake, even though Wake is very, very good. It's just kind of, if UNC wants to be that upper echelon, top 25 program year in, year out, you can't lose these kind of lesser opponents.
Mac has won 11 straight games against Duke, by the way. I don't know if I should save that for a stat, but he's 11-0 in his last 11 against the Dukies.
3-0 since he's giving back, too. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, and then he won all of them after the 89 photo game. I think he taught somebody a lesson. Adam, how important for confidence purposes is this game for the defense? Duke can do some things on offense. I mean, they've got a quarterback that's pretty good running the football. I mean, it's another step in the right direction this team needs to make, right?
Can you call it strength on strength after what we've seen from UNC's defense the last 2 weeks? Is that just like the biggest? Is that a hot take? I don't know if producer John has flames that he can throw in there, but I mean, Duke's off to a 4-2 start. Look at the production value. Comments are gonna go crazy now. Duke's off to a 4-2 start. They only won 3 games last year in Cutcliffe's last year. They've already exceeded their win total. And they are one of the better teams in the ACC here in the early going of the season running the ball. I believe they're 4th in the league in rushing. They have 3 backs they've featured. Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Duke, is a threat. His rushing numbers are similar to Drake May's rushing numbers, like just in terms of the actual numericals. I don't know if he gets them the same way Drake does, but that's what Duke relies on so far in the Mike Elko regime is running the ball on offense. And the last 2 games, as we have documented, not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, UNC held Virginia Tech under 100 yards. UNC absolutely smothered Miami last week down in Miami Gardens, 41 rushing yards for the game, I believe it was, 7 in the second half. Now, Tyler Van Dyke did throw for nearly 500, but it's like Max said the other day, we've wanted to be good at something. And for 2 games here in the ACC, the Carolina's defense has been good stopping the run.
We mentioned Mike Elko. Let's cue it up here a little bit. Let's get into story time at the top in the first segment of this show. Ross, I want to hear the story again. You getting to meet Mike Elko at ACC Media Days, I believe. Can you tell us that story?
I believe the Mr. Buck Sanders featured that story in a column on Monday. I didn't get to read it all, but I was told about it. And there was a little bit misrepresentation there. This was ACC Football Media Day. I was leaving with intern Grant, or maybe just by myself, and I saw who's the SID over there, Adam? The main SID
At Duke?
Yeah.
Oh, Art Chase? Is that who
Art Chase, who great guy.
His wife works at UNC.
Oh, yeah. He lets us play basketball. We do a basketball media day at Duke. He's a great guy. He's very funny. So I was talking to Art Chase, introduced myself to Mike Elko. I go, hey, Coach Elko, nice to meet you. I cover UNC. And he was very dismissive of that. He said, oh, great. Or like, no. He said, good for you. and look, I wasn't trying to brag or anything. I was, hey, man, I cover the, rival team down the road from you. There's a good chance, I'll see you here and there. But that was my first interaction with Coach Mike Elko. Let's see how long he stays in Durham.
And Ross, you said it, Ross, did you say it very earnestly, or was there any sarcasm in your voice? I mean, you're acting like he just like.
No, it was just, I was like, look, I was like, hey, I cover Carolina, cover UNC, I guess your rival, wasn't trying to make a big deal about it. I'm not trying to like pick a fight with him. Hey man, I cover your, I was just like, it was very, and then, he had a little snide comment. And you would think, he's a man of higher stature, he's a head coach. Shouldn't, I'm a mere beat reporter for a internet website. There's no need for him to try to big time me, whatever. He seems like a meathead. I don't know what y'all think, but he's got things turned around there. I've been impressed.
I mean,
is that bulletin board material a little bit for you? Are you going to work a little bit harder this week, knowing that he slighted you like that?
I always bring 110%. I can't work any harder.
Are you going to go over there to media basketball day when y'all play, and you just going to take somebody out and say, that's for Mike Elko?
That's right. We haven't done that for a while since COVID. So
yeah, COVID shut that one down.
That is maybe it'll come back. Maybe that'll come back. It was always funny for me to see those pictures and hear those stories of you guys over there having the media basketball days. Adam, to your point about Elko, and to Ross's point, meathead or whatever, he can coach football. He's been pretty successful wherever he's been. Carolina and Longo have history. All these coaches have history with all other coaches, the way it's all cross-pollinated, I'll use that word, in the college coaching ranks. But Texas A&M in the Orange Bowl. Longo talked about that a little bit, but do things like that carry over? I mean, can he do at Duke what he was doing at Texas A&M, given the athletic difference of those rosters?
I mean, yes and no. He sure can try. Who knows if he can accomplish it? But I mean, I think what's far more valuable to Phil Longo, not to speak for the cowboy boot wearing Phil Longo, but he was talking to us the other day just about, it's interesting when we talk to the coordinators, Gene Chizik and Phil Longo on Mondays, because you can tell that they have just crawled out of watching a lot of film on the opponent that they are preparing to play here at the start of the week. And Phil was talking to us about just the angles and the way he could tell Duke is playing under Elko just by the angles they're taking in making tackles. And he was saying, I'm paraphrasing here, but he was saying the effort sort of jumps off the tape a little bit. So I think I think Duke's first 6 games are far more valuable to Phil Longo than the Orange Bowl of 2020. And I think it's interesting to hear the way that Carolina is talking about Duke. You're always respecting your opponent during the week, but the players said today that these guys have played against Duke, that it's a different kind of Duke team, and there's an edge and maybe more of a hunger to them than they've seen the last couple of years. And that's what you want to hear when you make a coaching change. You want to that's what you want to inject. So it's been interesting hearing them talk about what they're seeing out of Duke, this version of Duke.
Yeah, one thing to note, not only do they play in the Orange Bowl, I imagine they went against each other, Phil Longo and Mike Elko, in Texas A&M in 2018, because Longo was at Ole Miss and Elko was the DC at Texas A&M in 2018. So they would have played each other, right?
Elko obviously was at Wake too, but I mean, I know Longo was not at.
Yeah, so they played twice. They played in 18 at Ole Miss versus Texas A&M, and they played in 2020 Texas A&M versus UNC. So yeah.
Interesting. He was at Notre Dame too there for a brief
one year, for 1 year.
in 17. Yeah, he's been around.
Yeah.
Had some pretty good success. If he can make Duke football relevant, and I know Duke, played Texas A&M in whatever bowl game not too terribly long ago, and all that stuff. But if he can make Duke relevant, he earns every dime he made. But Ross, to your points, how long he stick around trying to make them relevant? It's kind of like the Kansas coach, Leopold. How long does he stay there making those teams relevant before somebody comes calling? Ross, Gene Chizik. Another one of those days where Gene Chizik was in a good mood. And what I liked about your questions and some other of the questions is they stopped the run, yeah, but damn, 500 yards? Seriously? I mean, I think Miami abandoned. But what'd you take away from Chizik talking about that and Mac talking about that? I mean, and I guess rightfully so. Maybe they were kind of giddy that they'd stop the run in those games. I'm thinking Tyler Van Dyke just threw for 500.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not pretty, and I'm sure they're not super proud about that number. But look, I think the big thing to point out here, taking this question in a little bit different direction, is they made timely plays and timely stops. That's kind of the bend don't break. Goal line stand, so it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. So they drive that whole field, so they get all those yards, and then UNC stops them for 0 points, and then UNC drives 99 yards. Huge momentum shift. As we've recounted in articles and podcasts this week. Another good example is the forced fumble by Cedric Gray, recovered by Gio Biggers. They're almost going to score. They're within the 20-yard line. They got a 4th and 1 conversion of a 9-10-yard gain. Cedric Gray knocks it out. So they drive all those yards. They get 80 yards or so. And then they come up with 0 points in UNC. I think that's when UNC's drive started. The 8-21 drive started right there. To kind of seal the win, or at least attempt to seal the win. So this is what Jeff Schottmer told us there last week on Calling the Shots. It's a bend don't break defense that focuses on red zone defense, and that the most important number is the score. So yeah, I mean, stop one thing, and they did that. And so you're forcing a team to pass, and I would much rather stop the run and force them to throw the ball. It's a much harder play. I think it's much harder with quarterbacks these days to hit on passes if they're a really good quarterback. And so, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, like, they're stopping the run, and you got to give them credit for that. Like, back-to-back games, they'll look to do it again against Duke.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to do it, to be able to only give up 24 points after somebody throws for 500 is the exact definition of the bend, don't break defense. John, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to pose a question here. I want everyone in the comments to answer, as well as you, Tommy. I'm going to flip things around. So we're halfway through the season. How do we feel about the North Carolina defense? Do you feel confident in this unit at this point? Have you seen enough to sort of raise your expectations from what you saw of the first 3 games, or are you still in a prove-it stage for them?
To Ross's point, the goal is to win the game, right? And they seem to have made a decision to stop the run. I think Duke will show us a lot more, because Duke's going to try to run it, whether it's the quarterback running it or the running backs running it. If they can lock down Duke's rushing defense, say 150 yards or less, then I will believe totally that they've improved the run defense. Pass defense, that's tough to think a lot about. I mean, but to Ross's point as well, timely plays matter, and Chizik wants to play this bend don't break, keep it all in front of you, and if teams are going to mess up, then take advantage of it. And Carolina's done that. I mean, they're 5-1. They've got a chance to go 6-1. So the numbers speak for themselves. Personally, I don't care if they're 100 or 290th in defense behind every FBS team, every FCS team, and a couple of D2 teams if they're winning ball games, right? So is it going to be a situation where they can get it done against Duke? Because I think Duke will – they will not stop trying to run it because the quarterback runs it so well. And Van Dyke didn't do that.
Yeah. I'll bring
Andrew
in the
Young
next.
said that, yeah.
I think the key here is they're improving. I think a lot of people are saying that in the comments. They're improving. They're getting better. That's all you can ask for right now. They're winning games and improving. And I'm still not sold on the defense. I'll wait until after Duke and after Pitt. I think we'll know after those 2 games. They're 2, I think, a little bit tougher tests. And I think at that point, you're like, all right, this defense is going up. and they're going to get better and better. I think UVA won't be much of a test either. And so I think that you show it, what's a trend, after 2 or 3 games, you kind of see a trend. And I think that's where we can kind of make a good decision on this team. And then look, it's going to be tough against Wake and NC State, not to look too far ahead, but I need at least one more game to kind of see if this is truly how it's going to be for the run defense. I think you're right, Tommy. I mean, the pass defense might need a couple new safeties to fix that. And, maybe go by the frat house and get a couple guys to play safety. Might be a little better than what they have right now. Or maybe when Ja'Cory Conley comes back. So we'll see.
That's a perfect segue.
There we go. I saw the question too.
This is perfect for Adam as well. Has Adam written all over it. Adam, what is the latest on JQ Conley, and could he factor in this weekend?
One add-on to what everyone is saying. I mean, this defense is not going to be the 85 Bears guys. I don't think that we're waiting another week just to see. I mean, everyone should be happy that they're winning the games. I don't think that the Ray Lewis and the Ravens are going to walk through the door after the bye week when they play Pitt. I think Carolina's still going to need Drake May to win a lot of these games. But if the defense can come up with some of these timely stops like they have been, I think that's the recipe for this UNC team. K Mays and Brian Simmons and Brandon Spoon they're my age. But so anyway, yes, to answer Phil Bowen's question, who does, I guess Gio Biggers loses snaps. Is that, he's been starting. You got Cam Kelly and Gio Biggers at the safety spots, and DeAndre Boykins, who is coming on, at the star position. Playmaker. I mean, he's, as Ross and I talked the other day, you feel like Boykins is a playmaker up the middle, just like Cedric Gray and Power Eccles are. Conley didn't make the trip to Miami. I do not know if we'll see him at Duke. I don't know if Ross has any intel on that. It feels like, after this week, after that Carolina plays Duke, you have the second bye comes, they catch the second bye, and then October 29th, you come back and you play Pitt. It feels like to me that Pitt on the 29th is a target date. You return to practice. Conley did last week, practicing for the first time since, last November, before he suffered the knee injury against Wofford, before he had the surgery. So, I mean, he is a guy that they certainly can use. I'm sure you agree with that, Ross. I mean, they need playmakers back there, and he can help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is well on the way to being cleared to play. A little sourced intel there for you. I don't know if he'll play against Duke, but I think UNC. I think Jeremy Sharp might be listening right now, but they're being very cautious. I don't want to get fans all excited. I'm not sure if they're going to play him against Duke. I think he will be available. I think if he went to practice right now, you would see him out there, running with the 11 on 11. I believe, but it takes game speed so much different than practice speed. And look, having not played the game, you can take my word for it. So that was a joke. Laugh. Who was the politician that said clap? Now you can clap.
Jeb Bush.
Jeb Bush. Yeah.
Please clap.
Please clap.
One of my.
So, I think Pitt will be great. I think Pitt will be great, Adam. You get 2 more weeks. You get the bye week. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him against Duke. But the path is there. And I think Conley may not be the best in terms of pass coverage and what he can do in terms of breaking up passes and tracking, but he is a big hitter in run defense. He is a big physical guy who can be the kind of that third linebacker, come up and run support. And so, of course, he's going to be – maybe you go a little 3 safeties, you kind of rotate him in and out and then work it. I mean, Conley, look, on paper, Conley's a lot better than Gio Biggers and even Cam Kelly. I mean, the guy was a top 100 recruit, I believe.
Yeah, and you got, Boykins is sort of playing the JQ role right now, right? He's coming up.
Boykins, yeah, Conley played the nickel at one point, but then he got moved to safety. He's kind of back and forth, and Boykins plays a pure nickel. So I think last year he was at mostly safety. But yeah, Boykins has stepped up. I mean, it's good to mention him, Tom, because he's been a playmaker for UNC. I mean, I think he's one of the best defenders on the team right now.
He is.
I think coaching staff would say that. So
yeah, and they're both thumpers.
He's one of the most valuable players on that defense, I feel like.
Absolutely. I think Conley, I don't see much reason to play him against Duke. You know, they're going to play him when he's ready, but having 2 more weeks after that makes most sense to get him back for Pitt if that's what happens. I tell you what, he's going to have some pressure, not necessarily from his team or his teammates, but the fan base, specifically the Inside Carolina fan base on the message boards. They have waited for Conley to come back. So I bet you Mr. Conley has answered the question more than any question he's ever seen in his life is when is JQ coming back? When is he coming back? When is he coming back? What's he going to do? And so his return is anticipated, but I don't think it's necessary this week, and certainly not with a bye after it. And one guy that I think has stepped up, and I do want to mention him because I did listen to his audio or his YouTube, and remind folks, I'm going to remind folks, take care check the Inside Carolina YouTube channel. You see all these press conferences and all, but they're great to watch on the YouTube channel. And one guy, Adam, and I'll start with you here, is Will Hardy. I mean, that guy was a last minute recruit. I guess a flip from Virginia, or he committed to Carolina over Virginia. I mean, he stepped up. He did not look good against App. He talked about getting those reps against App and how they've helped him. He has been pretty effective in the last couple of weeks, and he's getting more and more snaps and put in situations where he's having to cover some of the best in the game, some of the best in the ACC, and Mallory and the kid from Notre Dame. So what'd you glean from him today? He certainly appeared older than his age.
Yeah, I believe he was a 3-star, wasn't he, Ross? I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Will Hardy was a 3-star, which, I mean, it certainly didn't come in with the biggest rep. But yeah, Tommy, I asked him today, like I always enjoy asking those guys questions, like what was your welcome to college football moment, you know? And he said the Appalachian State game, with the number of people that were in there and how it obviously went sideways for UNC there late. And then of course the second thing he mentioned, because I know Ross was thinking it as we talked to him about it, was all of us were there for the Notre Dame game in Chapel Hill, and you look up on, I think it was a key third down early in the game, and Michael Mayer, the All-American tight end, is hauling in a pass for Notre Dame, and we were like, "Who is 31?" Oh yeah, Will Hardy is 31. That's who's defending, one of their top weapons here. So it was great getting to talk to him today. I always enjoy talking to these guys we haven't talked before. He seems like a wonderful guy. Coach's son out of Georgia, although his dad coached the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, he's, hey, when Tyler Van Dyke throws the ball, 57 times a game, I think it was, the dime package is going to be on the field a lot for UNC. So, if you got somebody chucking it around like that, he's going to be out there running around a lot. He comes on and Power Eccles usually goes off, and that's how they usually play the obvious passing downs.
Yeah. Adam, love talking to Will Hardy, real gym rat, first in, last out, smart guy, coach's son, gritty,
sneaky fast,
sneaky athletic, high IQ, all those things.
I like talking to all the guys. I just never talked to Will Hardy before.
Yeah, it is good hearing these new guys. I mean, look, he could be a starting safety for UNC after this year, maybe for the next 3 years. One little plug here. It's interesting. Don Callahan on the Weekly Scoop does the red shirt counter. And we talked about that on the Scoop podcast today. And it kind of gives you a glimpse of which true freshmen obviously are playing. And, 7 guys who burned their red shirt already. And Will Hardy's one of them. Malachi Hamrick, who's in that dime package. Travis Shaw, both running backs, obviously. So it's kind of a interesting look at which freshmen you thought were going to play and maybe not red shirt versus the ones that actually are playing. Will Hardy might be one of those guys that we did not expect to play as much and who is clearly not redshirting this year.
Let's get in. And somebody on the message board thread said the red lettering around the live on our logo is unacceptable. Could this person please send a note to Wells Fargo for their red ads in the Dean Dome, and I will gladly accept hearing that. Now, folks are hardcore.
What about my red shirt? Should I be concerned here?
Oh, you need to zip that up. Shout out to Michelle Hillison for doing all our graphics here. She is a wonderful, wonderful person to put up with all our quirks and all that. Ross, do your Blue Shark, and then I'll do Johnny T-shirt, and then we'll get to all the questions.
All right. Blue Shark Vodka, one of the sponsors of the Inside Carolina podcast and the presenting sponsor of Calling the Shots every Monday morning. Smoothest vodka in the world, Blue Shark Vodka. Shout out to Connor Barth down there in Wrightsville Beach, part owner of Blue Shark Vodka, supporting us, supporting these local independent companies just like them. They're available. Blue Shark Vodka is available in all 100 counties at the local ABC stores, a couple cities in South Carolina, Las Vegas, San Diego. So pick up a bottle. It's an accessible price point, great for tailgating, great for the house. It's a good, vodka to have on whenever you want to make a simple, easy drink. Blue Shark Vodka, North Carolina owned, the smoothest vodka in the world. Tommy.
Yeah, and I need Ross to share some of those recipes that you were talking about on a couple of these podcasts. Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com sponsors, longtime sponsors of these podcasts and friends of Inside Carolina. Look, I'm going to be in Chapel Hill more often, so I'm going to be going to Johnny T-Shirt and getting their stuff, and I'm going to be using the Inside Carolina discount as well. It's 10% if you're a premium subscriber, and you get sweatshirts like Ross Martin is showing off right there. The crew neck sweatshirt is getting a little nippy outside. There's perfect time to go visit them at Johnny T-Shirt. Jerseys, sweatshirts, sweatpants, hats. You need hats if you got these bald heads. If your hair's like Ross, you don't need it. If your hair's like Adam and myself, you need hats. They've got you covered. First purchase ever had from Johnny T-Shirt, some Ray-Ban sunglasses. I don't think they carry them anymore, but I got me some Tom Cruises back in 1989 at Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. Take a short break. Audio version, National Guys Pay the Bills, On the Beat Live. It's about 9:32 on the East Coast. We'll be right back. All right, boys, let's get to some questions. I'm going to let John Bowman, producer John. Do you prefer John B., producer John, Mr. Bowman, John? I mean, how do you want to be addressed here? Because we need to get this right.
I like producer John because it's kind of my persona for.
You shifted your Twitter account to that too.
Exactly. Yes, I don't want people to be able to Google me who might also work with me. So that's good. It's a layer of security there. I've got a great question here. I really like this one. I'm gonna get better at reading them out for people who are listening to the audio version. So this is from ETG22. Shouldn't the coaches go back to using all the running backs again? I think it's an interesting question because we've heard they've condensed the running back room down, but there still hasn't been that running back who's sort of taken over. Do you think it's time for maybe DJ Jones or maybe even George Pettaway to get a shot at some carries against Duke?
Adam?
I mean, George Pettaway didn't play at Miami. He didn't play a snap. And I enjoyed the name Duffed Wedge in the comments. That excellent account name over there.
How about Dale Pale who said, my wife's boyfriend loves Blue Shark Vodka?
That's great. Yes. Dale Pale, you gave me a laugh on that one.
That was funny.
That was a good one. We need to highlight that one. Hold on a second. Hold on.
He's got it. It's up.
There's Duffed
Wedge.
There
it is.
As I said, his name, he appears as I say his name.
I think Adam, focus back up, Adam.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, look, I don't see that happening. I mean, they want two guys. They've been using two guys more and more. I mean, if you look at the distribution against Miami, it's Caleb Hood. I think he had 13 carries. Omarion Hampton had 15 carries. No one else carried the ball, I don't think, other than Drake May. I don't think DJ Jones only played 4 snaps, I believe, at Miami. He may have had a carry, but I might have missed that if he did. I mean, they want two guys. That they want to feature, as Phil Longo says, we want to feature and we want to major in two guys. And that's what they're doing. Caleb Hood has started the last 2 games. He started the last 2 second halves. Caleb Hood is, by all accounts, their starting running back. And Omarion Hampton, they're bringing in as their second back. Obviously, he's a good guy near the goal line. Mac made a point of saying it was one of the best 4-yard runs he'd ever seen in his life of how Omarion Hampton got hit initially at Miami and spun into the end zone with the extra effort. I think Caleb Hood is coming off a nicely well-rounded performance. He had the 5 catches out of the backfield. I personally, I will never be confused for an offensive coordinator, but I think that George Pettaway should be more involved in. I think they should use his obvious attributes, but they know way more than I do, and he's being used less and less. DJ Jones is being used less and less.
Yeah, I think the one thing here that a lot of fans are worried about, I mean, look at the comments yet, is the fear of Pettaway transferring. What'd you say?
I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I mean, that's they're gonna have Bruce Brooks come back next year. Like, what? Somebody's gonna transfer. And with that talent, you'd think you would stay and fight for reps. And I think he's good enough to play at UNC and start at UNC. But I agree with Adam. Like, it'd be nice. I mean, obviously, I agree with Adam. Like, Hood's the starter. Hampton seems to be splitting reps. But bring Petaway on a couple, unique plays. Where they get him the ball in space. I also would like. I think you need to use Josh Downs in different ways too. We always heard about him, coming in the backfield on jet sweeps. Dude, he is the best player on the field. Get Josh Downs the ball in more ways. I mean, he should have 10, 15 touches a game, whether it's short passes. Like, I think he needs to get the ball more, not just passing routes. Like, use him more in the backfield.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I don't disagree. Here's Caleb Hood is the starting running back, to your point, Adam. I mean, he's the guy. If anybody watches the Miami game and says he shouldn't be the guy, they should play some more running backs. They didn't watch the same game I watched. But the only issue with Hood is, can he stay healthy? I mean, is he getting truly dinged up, or is he one of those guys that's not used to dealing with pains and all that stuff? I mean, he's obviously tough. He's obviously a pounder in there, but can he stay healthy enough to stay on the field all the time? Hampton had a bad injury in high school, but he's pretty durable. You got to have these other guys. I mean, I think Petaway's got a role. I certainly think he does, but it's a crowded room, and you can't argue with the results, I don't think.
I was saying to Ross when they sort of told us, before the Virginia Tech game, that we'd like to just feature two guys. We'd like to pare that rotation down. I just said to Ross, does that mean George Petaway is redshirting? Like that. I don't know why that struck me. I was like, well, maybe are they going to redshirt George Petaway? Then he played against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so I think he's played 5 games, right? Yeah.
Right. But like when they said that, it was after 4 games. It was after the Notre Dame. It was between Notre Dame and Virginia Tech.
Well, I'm thinking next year. Yeah. I mean, you bring Brooks back. I mean, who snaps is he taking? Is he taking Hampton snaps? So I don't know. I mean, I'll speak freely here. I told Adam, like, at some point the staff's gonna be like, Brooks, man, we don't need you. I mean, he's great. He's great and all, but it's tough to say because I mean, he's apparently really, really good. We just haven't seen it yet, and the injury sucks. But if you want to, get Hampton developed and get Petaway developed, and then you would think that those 2 guys would be your main guys moving forward. Oh, sorry, and Hood. I mean, those are 3 guys right there. That
he's a sophomore.
Yeah. Like, you got to think Elijah Green. If I was him, I would transfer, or maybe just stay at Carolina and be a team player and get your degree and move on with life. There's always that side too.
I mean, nowadays you can get your degree and then go and play. And what, Jay Schroeder had 4 years of eligibility after he graduated from Carolina, and Cade Fortin, he's been at every school in the Southeast. I mean, I heard them talking about. Speaking of that, I heard them talking about Cade Fortin, and they were like, "Yeah, he transferred to Carolina." What they didn't mention is Malik Hornsby, their other quarterback that finally played, was a Carolina commit at
Arkansas.
Yeah. So, John B., what you got? What's next?
This is an interesting one. Will the tight ends be more of a factor this week? This is from Adrian Archer. They've presented matchup problems for other teams this season. Do you think UNC can utilize their tight ends well against Duke?
Against Miami made a concerted effort to prevent those guys from playing. Morales had 2 catches for 21, Nesbitt 1 for 22, and Copenhaver did not scratch. Ross, I mean, we've talked about the tight ends all year. I would think the athleticism that trio brings is something Duke would have big time trouble with.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know the whole defensive roster that Duke's going to do, nor their defensive alignment, but you would think those are UNC's 3 best offensive players. I mean, top 5, 6 pass catchers. So, yeah, they're going to be a factor. I mean, I think Drake May loves to go into Morales and Nesbitt. I mean, Nesbitt was the guy on one of the interceptions I think that Drake missed. So, yeah, I think it's an easy answer. Of course, they're going to be a huge part of the offense moving forward. They have been. They will be.
I think they'll be more of a factor this week if Drake May makes them more of a factor. I mean, I think he's proven that he's going to mostly throw it to the open guy. I mean, how spoiled have we been watching Drake May when he throws 2 picks at Miami and everybody's kind of like, "Oh, that was his worst game." I mean, the guy's only thrown 3 all year. Like what, 21 touchdown passes and 3 picks? Is that what it is? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty nice little ratio. More than 7-1. But yeah, I mean, I think there'll be a factor if they're open. I mean, I think that's the thing about Drake is he finds the open man and he gets the ball there, and the pass distribution is always interesting to watch with him because he keeps it spread around for the most part.
Let me ask one of these questions here, John. Let me get in and steal one of the questions from you. I'm gonna throw it up here because this is relevant in Duke, playing Duke. With everybody's confidence level that Carolina, can actually stop the running quarterback, Bateman never could. And I know it wasn't a Bateman thing, but what's the quarterback that went 6 to the Giants?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones went 6 to the Giants because of what he did to Carolina in Durham on that day. I think he had like 500 Lamar Armstrong type. This is what I mentioned earlier about the run defense. And Ross, we can get back into it briefly to answer this question. This is where my concern lies. Can they straight up stop straight up running backs? Yes, they've done that the last 2 weeks. Can they stop them when they add in that factor? Did Chizik talk about that at all, and talk about Riley Leonard at all in Monday's press conferences?
Yes, absolutely he did. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Was that Ross's question?
It doesn't matter. Y'all are together, beat writers.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely talked. They, he's a part of he's an element of their running game. He's their second leading rusher, Riley Leonard, the quarterback. And the guy that leads them, Jalen, somebody, his last name's escaping me. I mean, he didn't play against Georgia Tech last week due to injury. So we'll see what his status is for UNC, but they were without him, their leading rusher. But they got 3 backs, and they have a 4th if you count Riley Leonard, the quarterback, in there. That's what they use him as an active part, and he's been producing. And yeah, Chizik absolutely talked about him as part of their running game.
It's the hardest thing to defend, a running quarterback. I mean, that's why Drake Mays had so much success, because you have everybody covered, and the one guy sneaks out, and if he's athletic, it's the toughest thing to defend. And so I think, of course, Duke will utilize it. It'll be tough. That's why you got to have Power Eccles and Cedric Gray and Boykins kind of on their P's and Q's to stop that. I just remember flashbacks. I remember Daniel Jones running all over UNC in 2016. A very, very bad loss for the Tar Heels there in that year.
Yeah,
We've
like
talked a lot about
parlayed it into a 6th pick to the Giants.
Former walk-on Daniel Jones. He's a walk-on at Duke.
Wow. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we talked a lot about red zone defense too. Leonard has 4 rushing touchdowns. You could see that perhaps factor in this weekend as well. Think about Miami. If they had that extra threat in the red zone, that might have changed things on Saturday.
You know something interesting about Duke's running games? They have 3 Moores. Jaquez Moore, Terry Moore, and Jordan Moore that all will likely get snaps. But Riley Leonard leads them and all. Let's go to another question. Let's see here. Jack ask ASQ. Damn, I can't spell either. Ross, will UNC continue to run the young DL early? Rotate the DL early. I can't read this, man. It's moving around on my screen. Chia said they did it for Miami because of the humidity. Is that a thing now, do you think, Ross, for this defense?
Adam wrote a great piece this morning about it.
Oh, see, I haven't read it. So, Adam, that's your question.
UNC wrote 12. UNC rolled out 12 defensive linemen against Miami. 3 of those are the Jacks, which we consider kind of part of the defensive line. I think there's no reason to think they wouldn't do that. Keep doing it. I don't think weather really plays that factor. I think it's about keeping them fresh. And we saw Kedrick Bingley-Jones. We saw Keyshawn Silver, I think, for maybe one of the first few snaps in that goal line jumbo package where they had like 6 or 7 defensive linemen on there. So, yeah, I think it's great. I think Mac made a great point on Monday, and Adam can elaborate. But, you put a couple players out there, they make a play, it gives them some confidence. It keeps them engaged. They practice better if they know they're going to play. And so if they perform and they produce, they deserve more snaps. And without Reva Hasek, a guy like Travis Shaw, Keyshawn Silver, Kedrick Bingley-Jones, KJ Hester become way more important. So I think certain situations you play Keyshawn Silver, certain situations you play Travis Shaw, and you just rotate him in and out.
Adam, elaborate. I'm looking at your story, and I'm gonna plug it. If you
Good.
are on Inside Carolina, check out Adam's story on the defensive line. It's a very in-depth, detailed story with some great comments after it on the message board.
Praying hands emoji. Praying hands emoji. To answer Jack's question, I mean, yeah, I would keep doing it. Like, I mean, I feel like that's the template. You know what I mean? Like Ross said it. Ravo Hasik's not playing this week. He's out. Upper body injury.
Do we
Not
know what
sure
that is? Anybody know what that is?
We saw him yesterday.
He
and
looked
we go,
fine.
And we go, how's it upper body? You know, we have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't appear to be in obvious pain as he was walking in his slides right past Ross and I. So I asked him how his upper body injury was, and he just kind of, grunted at us and waved us off, even though we love Ravo Hasik. But Ravo Hasik's not playing against Duke. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like the way it happened against Miami, I think that's the template. You get, aside from Noah Taylor played like 78 of the 80 snaps. Everyone else was like in the 40s range. Keyshawn Silver got in there for 15. Travis Shaw got in there for about the same number. Why not? That's your deepest position. There's talent there. There's young talent there. Why not get those guys in? And as Ross alluded to, Max said it. The idea of positive reinforcement. You just get a guy in there like Keyshawn Silver, and he contributes on the goal line. Jacoby Cowan had a sack against Virginia Tech, and then like Max said, these guys show up to the meeting rooms the next day with a huge smile on their face. Like it helps your defense and it helps your enthusiasm. So, yeah, the humidity, man. Wow, we've heard a lot about it. But like I thought I personally, not that they care what I think, I like the way they used all those defensive linemen. I think why not do more of it? Line changes like in hockey.
Yeah, I think the guy like Keyshawn Silver comes in on certain situations, third and short, fourth and short, clear run downs. And you bring in the dime package on clear passing downs, which features, Rucker as an interior defensive lineman, Miles Murphy as interior defensive lineman, and then 2 rush ends, Chris Collins, Malachi Hamrick, or Noah Taylor, Malachi Hamrick.
Cowan's in there too on that.
Oh, yeah, maybe Cowan over Miles Murphy.
And also on the defensive line, I think some people are talking about it over here in the comments. But yeah, Miles Murphy hasn't been right since he sprained his ankle against Georgia State. Like he's been hobbled. He didn't play against Virginia Tech. And I think he got 28 snaps at Miami, but he hasn't been right. So as Max said the other day, you sort of have arguably your 2 best defensive linemen aren't fully available right now.
To be honest, I thought Miles Murphy was done for the year, the way it looked when he got hurt. John B., I'm gonna let you handle the questions from here on out, brother. You got a couple more in the
Yes.
queue there.
This is from Andrew Young. He says, "What happened to Kobe and Gavin Blackwell? Josh Downs and Antoine Green have been good." It's interesting because we just talked about how much they're rotating on the defensive line. Why not rotate more people in it at wide receiver? Has Longo or the players commented on that at all?
We need another rant by Adam.
No, Ross, you can take this.
Adam knew I was going to go that way.
I'm staying out of the pay source, though.
This is a base. I mean, this is just simple. It's just the best players play. So
yeah,
they think Josh Downs and Green are the better guys. They roll with them.
And you have, like running backs, receivers need to get lathered up. They don't need to be running 80-yard fly patterns every play. But if Josh Downs is your best guy, he's going to play the majority of the snaps. And that doesn't mean Kobe Paysor is any less of a player, but he's behind one of the best. Could they mix them up a little bit? Sure. I think they could let them play some more and get them some touches. But you're going to take Josh Downs off the field? You're going to take Green off the field? Adam, what rant have you had? I miss. Is that your play everybody rant or something?
I've been getting picked on, which is fine. I've got a target on my back. Always have.
It was the night we did rants, Tommy, and we all had the rant, and Adam ranted about Kobe Paysor.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The reason I did it, as Ross has heard me say a million times now, was I knew that Tommy and Ross were going to go there on something hardcore about the state of the program. And stuff like I just didn't want to be so repetitive. I didn't know what to say. I mean, what do you want me? I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't know what to say. But hey, I was thinking about with the Paysor and Gavin Blackwell thing, J.J. Jones is coming on.
They're all good. They're all good. They're all great.
Let me ask you a question. Who has the second most catches on the team?
Bryson Nesbitt would be my guess.
That would be false. Kobe Paysour,
Oh,
16.
yeah.
Josh Downs, 28. Paysour, 16. Nesbitt and Morales at 15. And then J.J. Jones. I think Paysour did his job at App State, 100%. That's what they talk about. Next man up, do your job. He did it. And he's going to get plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, you know who's going to be a starter next year at slot. It's going to be Kobe Paysour.
Yep. What you got left, John?
It's time for the Adams prediction out of the blue segment. This question is from Jack. Do you think this will be an old school UNC Duke nail biter, or can UNC blow them out?
Man, I hadn't even thought about a prediction, but I'm going to make one right here off the top of my bald head. It's going to be UNC 34, Duke 20 on Saturday night at Wallace Wade Stadium. It's a UNC win by 2 scores, 2 touchdown win, 34-20 for the Tar Heels. Going to 6-1 overall, 3-0 in the ACC.
Any elaboration? How's it happen? Turnovers on defense? Does Riley Leonard go nuts and the bend don't break?
I don't want to dodge Jack's question. I mean, this is Carolina football we're talking about here. It very well could and might be a nail biter. They're all nail biters, aren't they? I mean, other than the Virginia Tech game. I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Under the lights of Wallace Wade Stadium, are they really going to have a sellout over there? Do we think that?
I think there'll be a lot of Carolina blue. I was going to ask Tommy. You going, Tommy?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Think there'll be more Carolina blue than Duke blue?
Yeah, it's going to be similar to when Alabama played over there, I think. They sold out season tickets that season because Alabama fans could buy a season ticket to Duke to get that one game for cheaper than they could buy one game ticket to Alabama. And I don't know if y'all went around Duke. There was more Alabama people in Durham that weekend than there's ever been ever.
Well, they were there on Wednesday, Tommy. They had those Winnebagos up there in the middle of the week.
Absolutely. They rolled up and parked it. And, yeah, so I think there'll be – it would not surprise me, though, if it was about half and half. But I think it'll be a good crowd. I love going over there and watching the game. I don't understand the hate. I don't judge stadiums based on the toilets, and a lot of people seem to pick on those. If you're going to say that, and Kenan Stadium's had their share of toilet issues, but I think it'll be a fun time. Ross, we never ask you for predictions like on this. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think UNC wins. I'm looking up Duke football right now to see what kind of scores they've been scoring. Yeah, I think UNC wins. I think, maybe that's something like a 35, 38, 35 to, 28, 30 kind of range, or 24, 28. I think UNC can score on them. Look, Northwestern put up 23. A&T put up 20. Kansas put up 35. Virginia put up 16. Georgia Tech put up 23. So I think UNC can certainly move the ball on Duke. So I'll go UNC 38, Duke 28. How about that? UNC covers.
Interesting. And so here's going to be the over-under for our listeners. We'll talk about this next Tuesday. Jeff says no way it's half and half. I think it's 70-30 Carolina Duke fans in there. I think you're going to be a little bit surprised. I say half and half. We'll see. As far as score, I'll save mine. John, though, you're not saving yours. Give me a score prediction on yours, buddy.
I have it at 40-21. I think this is a game where UNC continues to take steps forward on defense. It's also important to remember Duke's had a good start to the season, but before the season started, this was one of those games that was an automatic UNC pick. All 8 of the Inside Carolina experts picked UNC, so I think that should be pretty safe for North Carolina. But you never know. That's why they play the games.
Is it a 2016 up 14-0 in the first 5 minutes and lose? Or is it a Carolina Blue Chrome helmet game where that was a blowout and Marquise Williams went nuts? I don't know. We'll talk about it Thursday. Anything left, boys?
I do have a quick rant. Producer John has a rant. It's more of a shout-outs. We're halfway through the UNC football season. UNC special teams has been very good. So I wanted to shout out 3 special teams players who I think have been very solid in their special team roles. Obi Abunya, the backup cornerback, has been very good. He's second on the team in special team snaps. Elijah Green, who we mentioned earlier in the show, he's a kid who could have transferred, but he's played a lot of special team snaps for UNC, and he has one of the highest PFF grades in special teams. And then Malik McGowan, a reserve offensive lineman. He mans the punt unit. I don't know exactly what it's called, the football position, but he is the leader of the punt unit. UNC has been very good at punting. So 3 shout outs there from producer John for the UNC special teams unit.
I believe that's the punt shield, is it not?
Yeah, they got named. UNC named them the special teams players of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 3 guys. Copenhagen, I think, is one of those guys too on the shield.
Yeah, all the time.
Interesting. It's been on the beat live. So we done, boys.
It's good. I'm good.
Shout out to the hardcore 300 that have been with us here on
300.
That's nice.
Yep, and let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Everybody wants to know the schedule. So tomorrow, Scoop Pod with Ross and Don Callahan will drop, I guess, in the morning. Already recorded, already in the hopper. It'll be out Thursday, Game Plan with Jason Staples, Greg Barnes, and myself. Friday, Vipolis. And I don't know if any of this crowd is in here, but I did the day after live just on a whim at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. And 150 of you guys showed up. So I don't know if we've got some hardcore fans or y'all really don't have anything else to do on a Sunday, but we might be doing that at 8 o'clock live on Sunday mornings. Join us there. Ross Martin, Adam Smith got you covered for Carolina coverage. Check out all the YouTubes, all the content on Inside Carolina. John B. knocking out YouTube stuff. I'm your host, Tommy Ashley. It's been On the Beat Live. Johnny T-shirt, Blue Shark, all that good stuff. We'll see you later in the week at InsideCarolina.com.